I got out of the Army just a few years ago after 4 years of service. And if you're thinking about getting out as well, then I've learned a thing or two along the way, now that I know what it's like on the other side, so to speak, that I think you should know before you make that decision so you don't end up regretting it later on. So first of all, if you're going to leave, then don't leave empty-handed. Stay in long enough so that you qualify for the bare minimum of benefits that are going to last you for the rest of your life. And I'm talking specifically about the GI Bill and Veterans Preference. So the GI Bill, which is basically a free education that you can apply towards undergraduate or graduate school, is something that you only qualify for if you serve, say, 3.5 to 4 years. Don't quote me on that. You can look that up just to be sure. And an important caveat here is if you had a service obligation connected to ROTC or a service academy, if you were a commissioned officer, then that time does not count towards the GI Bill. So you have to serve that and then some to qualify for it. Now, when it comes to Veterans Preference, which is where employers, specifically government agencies, but also some private companies, give you special consideration in the hiring process, which is going to give you a huge leg up when you're looking for a job on the outside. And for that as well, you don't qualify for it just by default because you're a veteran. So there are some strings attached there as well. Second of all, security clearances are highly valuable. So if you have secret, that's great. If you have top secret, that's even better. But those things expire. So if you're about to leave and yours is about to expire, see if you can get the military to renew it for you, because they'll do it for free, but on the outside, it's very expensive for both other government agencies and private companies to have to do. So if you're coming in the door with one, then you are an asset. Whereas if they have to do it for you, then not only is it going to be seen as a burden, but you've also lost a huge advantage that you have over other job applicants. Third, make sure you have a job locked in on the outside before you get out. That should be pretty obvious, but it's very irresponsible to just quit and not have another source of income when you're on the outside. And of course, you can't get out of the military overnight, but some employers will work with you as long as you have, say, 3 to 6 months left before you get out. Now, a couple things I want to note here. I would recommend at least considering continuing your service with the federal government, because the time you've served on active duty can be credited towards a federal retirement. So that's another one of those ways that you can make your time work for you as you continue on in your career, even though you're not still in the military anymore. Also, there are recruiting agencies out there that work specifically with veterans to help you find a job. Not with government agencies, but with private companies. But nevertheless, that's just a Google search away, and you don't want to leave that lying on the table. And lastly, capitalize on the leadership experience that you have. So if you're an NCO or an officer, then rather than looking for a job that's basically at the bottom of the totem pole, so to speak, right off the bat, and then having to work your way up in another agency, which is much harder, look specifically for leadership positions that are on your same level so you can continue that upward trend. And the last piece of insight that I want to offer you here is what it's actually like on the other side, so to speak. And of course, it depends heavily on what you do, but at least in my case, there are many upsides. So I get paid a comparable amount to what I would be making if I were still in the military, but my hours are practically half of what they used to be. Life is much less stressful. I have much more freedom. There's no PT, no field training, no deployments, and I get treated with a fair amount of respect. I don't have to kiss anyone's ass, and I don't really have anybody that's breathing down my neck constantly. But of course, at the same time, there are a few downsides. So most notably, job security being one of them. So whereas in the military, you kind of have a safety net, in the private sector, you could get a phone call at any second saying, hey, you're fired, with there being no explanation, and there's very little, if anything at all, that you can do about that. And also a sense of purpose. So whereas the military is a lifestyle, a job is just a job. So being challenged is stressful in the military, but without that, for me at least, there doesn't feel like there's any sense of purpose or duty or camaraderie in these random private companies. And sometimes I catch myself wishing I could have that back and I could go do something that's actually meaningful with my life instead of just pretty much being the same as everybody else. So if you have decided to get out, then I fully support that decision, and don't let anybody scare you into staying in, because it's really not that bad on the outside. You just have to be smart about it before you make that decision. Because it's pretty much an irreversible one. Once you get off of active duty, it's pretty much impossible to get back on it. So hopefully this helps you with that decision, and let me know if you have any questions or anything to add, and I'll see you next time.